What's up, guys? Welcome back to Country Bunkers Trains. Hope you're doing good. A very big welcome to all of the new subscribers. Thank you guys for joining. Can you guys believe it? 7 months ago, we started the channel back in July of 2020. Here we are going into February of 2021, and we've surpassed 2,000 subscribers. Isn't that cool? I was on YouTube for a few years before officially starting the channel and was uploading small clips and videos for friends and family and met a lot of great people along the way. Back in July, I decided to do a little introduction video, and the rest is history. It's taken off ever since. I've been having a lot of fun with the channel. The channel's kind of turned into another hobby within the hobby, if you will. Like I say, I've been having a lot of fun with it. Never in my wildest dreams did I think it would take off or be as well accepted as it has. You know, a lot of people might laugh or hold their nose up nowadays to 2,000 subscribers here on YouTube. And for that, I'd have to say, to hell with them. I'm very tickled and quite proud of that. As I've said before, I don't advertise the channel anywhere or put the channel out there anywhere. It seems to spread by word of mouth and hopefully by the good content that's in the videos. I'm sure it's pretty evident I'm not an actor. I don't have any videography training or skills or anything like that. I'm just here having fun. And the videos, they are a good little bit of work. The shorter 10 to 15 minute long videos usually take about 3 or 4 hours or one night to make. So to see them getting enjoyed really means a lot. For newcomers to the channel, we focus on all things O-gauge trains here. Everything from old to new, from starter set all the way up to premium or premier sets, and everything in between. My main focuses here are post-war engines and equipment, as well as the modern engines and equipment. However, I'm open to all of it. Doing these videos, I try to appeal to a little bit of everybody. Everybody's different. Some people want to see nothing but train running videos. Some people want to see layout videos and building and progress. Some people want to see only post-war engines and equipment, and others want to see only modern engines and equipment. Obviously, I can't appeal to everyone in one video, so I try to go back and forth and keep it interesting. And as I say, try to appeal to everyone. But anyways, guys, I wanted to give you a big thank you. I don't mean to sound like a broken record in these videos, but I really do appreciate it. And this channel is all because of you guys. I really can't say enough. A big salute to all of you. I also want to give a big thank you to everyone who dropped me a line and sent me an email. I really appreciate it. It's been pretty fun seeing your guys' layouts and trains and what you guys have been up to. It's very cool. I also got quite a few emails from some great people offering to send me some stuff and wanting to send gifts to me. I'm very flattered and appreciative. Please don't take it personal, but I don't have a P.O. box. And like I say, nothing against anybody. I'm not very comfortable putting my address out there. Like I say, it's nothing against any one individual. It's just a personal preference. But again, it's very appreciative. Maybe in the future, if I were to get a P.O. box, maybe that's something we could do. Or review other people's trains and whatnot here on the layout that's been requested a couple of times. I noticed kind of a reoccurring theme with a lot of the emails that I had been receiving that left me with mixed feelings. I received quite a few emails from people who were either just getting started in the hobby or maybe had been in the hobby for a little bit. However, they felt outcast or put down by some other people in the hobby, either by well-seasoned vets or established hobbyists in the hobby. And like I say, it left me with mixed feelings. I was happy that they found the channel, because that's always been kind of my goal for the channel, to show you don't have to be a millionaire to be into O-gauge trains. But it also left me sad that they were feeling outcast or put down. Guys, don't ever let anyone make you feel bad for the way that you enjoy the hobby. There's no sense in it. The only person that you have to please or impress is yourself. Unless these people are going to be buying the trains for you, they have no say. And believe me, you're not alone. I notice it as well. Here on the channel and myself, we receive our fair share of haters and keyboard warriors and so on and so forth. One of my favorites was from a while ago. A guy commented, How dare I run old engines and new engines together, and I must not have had a father. I don't know how to play with trains, blah, 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 blah. It just makes me giggle a little bit. I didn't realize there were rules to playing with O-gauge trains. And if there are, again, to hell with them. This is my O-gauge layout, and this is how I have fun with it. So like I say, don't ever let somebody make you feel bad. As long as you're having fun, that's all that matters. And look at it this way. What is the old saying? If you don't have any haters, you're not doing it right. I'll think of it that way. A little personal side story that kind of goes along with this. A while ago, I tried joining one of the big O-gauge forums online. While trying to join, I exchanged some less than hospitable emails back and forth between the moderator, admin, manager, whatever you want to call them. However, I got through all of that and I joined the site. After joining and going through everything, I noticed a lot of the same topics over and over and over again. Trains are too expensive. This manufacturer sucks. That manufacturer sucks. Post-war's the best. Post-war sucks. Modern sucks. Modern's the best. Trains are made in China, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on and on and on. Like I say, I joined there to have fun, and it wasn't any fun for me. Sure, that wasn't everybody there, but I guess first impressions are lasting impressions. Like I say, I joined there to have fun, and it didn't bring me any fun. That was one of the Kickstarters for doing this channel here. I wanted to enjoy the hobby. I didn't want to go somewhere and bitch, moan, and complain about it. And like I say, a lot of these topics, yeah, I could agree with 100%, but it's just beating a dead horse over and over and over, and it gets tiring. I do have something to say for one of these topics. For the guys that are always complaining about the trains being made over in China and not here in the U.S., well, now's your chance to step up. As we know, one of the biggest manufacturers is looking at going out of business and is possibly for sale. Not one or a party of you have stepped up to buy it that I've heard of. Now's your chance, though. It's for sale. If you want to bring manufacturing back to the States, like I say, this is your chance. Anyways, guys, enough ranting. We're supposed to be celebrating. We're celebrating 2,000 subscribers, which is just so cool. For today's video, I figured we'd be doing some updates and news to the O-gauge world and layout here, as well as do a Q&A session here towards the end. Doing these videos throughout them all, I notice a lot of reoccurring questions and whatnot. And for some of these questions, it might seem a little repetitive for our longtime subscribers, but please do realize we've grown exponentially throughout the last month or two. As well as those questions, I also made a little community post the other day asking if you had any questions that you wanted to ask to please post them. So let's go ahead and get started. The first and biggest news to the channel, I'm sure a lot of our longtime subscribers have noticed some big changes to the channel over the last couple of weeks. The channel has been monetized. The channel met all the goals to be able to be submitted and reviewed for monetization quite a while ago. I hemmed and hawed over it for a few weeks, but ultimately decided to give it a go and try it out. I say I thought about it quite a bit because, as I mentioned when I first started out, it was never my goal to make money or anything like that. I'm just having fun. Ultimately, I decided to give it a go as I figured if the channel's able to generate a little bit of revenue, hopefully we can put that little bit of revenue back into the channel. Be able to get things like new cameras, microphones, and stuff like that, as well as products to review. I'm sure, like pretty much everybody else that's here watching, I don't have a money tree or an O-gauge train tree out back dropping stuff in my lap to do these videos with. So ultimately I decided to give it a go. And from what I've seen, I'm not going to get rich overnight or anything like that. But hopefully it'll help the channel grow and we can continue moving on. In other news, I'm sure everyone's seen the Lionel 2021 catalog is out. Pretty cool. I thought about doing a video on this one, but it seems like everyone else did a video on the catalog, so I figured all the bases were covered. There was no need to do it. A lot of people seem to be excited about it. Luckily for me, personally, there's not a whole lot in here for me. I know a lot of people are pretty excited about the new Acellas coming out and whatnot, and I'm happy for them. I'm glad somebody's happy to get those and is looking forward to them. The one thing in here I was contemplating on getting, but ultimately something else won out, was this pacemaker Mohawk. That thing's beautiful. But like I say, something else won out, so I'm not going to be able to pick that one up. The one thing I might pick up, and I think I'm going to, is the pacemaker boxcar set with the Vision Line boxcar. That's a pretty impressive looking set. And like I say, it comes with the Vision Line boxcar. For the price, I don't think you can beat it. They offer Vision Line boxcars in single sale on a few pages back. But for the price, yeah, I think I'm going to go with that one. I was watching a fellow O-Gauge YouTuber the other day doing a video right before this catalog came out, if I remember correctly. He was going over a wish list of what he was hoping to see in this catalog. A lot of people are mentioning the engines and stuff in here is old tooling and engines brought back with new paint jobs and fantasy paint schemes and stuff like that. So I'm kind of surprised not to see it in here. But if anyone at Lionel is listening, I too would love to see the Scale Polar Express Berkshire come back. I would be much more excited for that than this Polar Express Acela personally. I think that would be awesome. Yeah, those engines came out, back in 07 or 09? At the time, I didn't have the layout going and I wasn't actively purchasing, so I was not able to pick myself one up. But yeah, if that was reissued again, I'd be all over it. And I think a lot of other people would be too. You see the used ones going on eBay and whatnot for crazy prices. That tells me it's in demand. I think it should come back. Like I was saying, the big train funds are going elsewhere for this year's big purchases. We got a couple of really cool pieces coming to the layout this year that I'm pretty excited about. Right after Christmas and New Year's, MTH announced this uncatalogued 25th anniversary BNSF ES44. I think it looks pretty cool. It's not something I normally go for, however this one spoke to me, and I went ahead and ordered one. It should hopefully be here sometime in April, I believe. MTH got me once again with the announcement a couple weeks ago of this uncatalogued last run Big Boy. I knew a Big Boy was coming to the layout eventually, however I wasn't planning on one this soon. But I figured what the hell, this might as well be the one to get. And I'm pretty excited to get this one. I was pretty impressed of the videos and pictures I was seeing of the most recent one from 2019. However, I do hope they get the chuff rate fixed for this model. From what I was seeing, that was only producing from the factory 2 chuffs per revolution. Hopefully that gets updated to 4. But yeah, I went with the restoration version, the oil burner. And like I say, I'm pretty tickled for this one to be coming to the layout. That's pretty much it as far as updates and news to the layout. Not a whole lot has been happening the last couple of weeks aside from running and enjoying the trains. But with all of that said, let's go ahead and move on to our Q&A. The first question I wanted to address is, will I ever do a live stream in the future or include myself in a live stream? And the answer is yes. I would like to do a live stream sometime in the future. I tried to model this video after a live stream or have a live stream type of vibe. A lot of people can probably see this from a mile away, and others might be completely surprised, but every video on this channel has been done off of my phone. I'm probably the least tech-savvy guy here in the modern O-Gauge community. Hell, I don't even have a computer or a laptop. The missus has a laptop that I'll use maybe once or twice a year, but that's it. These videos and everything else is done straight off of the phone. Everything from shooting the video to editing and posting and, like I say, everything. With that said, I'm a little nervous of doing a live stream as, yeah, I could do one straight off of the phone, but I don't think I could do one to the level that I would like to, if that makes sense. But I'm working on fixing that and being able to do one. I've started picking stuff up. I picked up a new microphone yesterday, and I got to get some other stuff, and I think I'd be a little bit more comfortable being able to do a live stream in that manner versus just doing it straight off of the phone. Probably the most frequently asked question on the videos or to the channel is how I go about rebuilding and servicing these post-war Lionel engines and equipment. I can't really answer that on this video. However, I did shoot a video a little while ago about how I go about servicing these engines and getting them running again. If interested, I will post a link in the description to that video so you can go view it. As I say in that video, I'm not a tech or a maintenance man. I'm not certified. Everything I've done is just learned by doing. And no, I haven't been able to get my horns running or anything like that. I haven't had much luck with those. But aside from that, I've had no issue getting a lot of these engines back up and running again. Like I say, if you're interested, I would highly suggest going and viewing it. Probably the second most asked question on the channel and these videos is how big is the layout or layouts, since we have two of them. The first or main layout has a 9 foot by 9 foot wide table with a 5 foot by 6 foot wide L on the front. And the second layout is 4 foot wide by 19 feet long with a 4 foot by 5 foot L back there. These layouts are placed in an additional sunroom that has been added on to the house. Obviously it's not very wide, but it is quite long, and it makes for a decent space to put these layouts up, I think. Yeah, I wish I had more space, obviously. But I'm pretty happy and content with what I have at the moment. I have pondered and thought about moving the layouts out to the barn, which I'm sure you guys have seen in the backgrounds a bit. But unfortunately, it doesn't have HVAC. It's not climate controlled, and hell, it's pretty nice having the trains right here in the house to be able to play with. But I would have a lot more space out there. But I'd have to move some of the toys that are out there. So I don't see it happening. But who knows, maybe in the future. I've even thought about adding another building out back just to put the trains in, have a bigger train layout room. One of the other more frequently asked questions on the channel is how I build and the dimensions of my supports and trestles for the raised track. These are very, very simple, very basic. All these is 1x2 wood cut to size and screwed together. That's all that it is. As far as dimensions for what works for me, these legs happen to be cut at 6 3/4 inches, and then with the 1 inch on top as the support, makes it a total of 7 3/4 inches. For the width, again, everybody's going to be different. Some of these are cut at 6 and 7 inches wide for the track, where others are cut like 3 or 4 inches, and then we've got some that are 12 inches. They all differ. It's just whatever size they need to be for wherever they're going. Some need to be wider for curves. Others can be thinner for straights where you don't got to worry about overhang and stuff like that. Again, I did go over these slightly in another video. If interested, I'll post a link to that video. But like I say, very basic, very simple. One question I've been getting more and more of frequently is what type of ballast I've been using on the tracks. Believe it or not, this is some good old cheap cat litter. Originally, when I started doing ballast on the track, I started out with jars of small rock from the Michael's Craft Store, local place. Stuff looked good and I liked it, but it was a little expensive. One night after a few adult beverages, I started playing with the cat litter, and I was pretty pleased with it. I think it looked pretty good. It matched the rock pretty good. It's a little bit lighter where it transitions or meets the old rock, but I think it pulls the look off pretty well. And like I say, it's pretty cheap cat litter. I think we got this from Walmart for like $5 to $7, if that. And it did quite a bit. I only used about a quarter bag on the layout so far. I haven't glued any of it down. I don't like to make it too temporary. I could glue it down and it wouldn't make quite as much of a mess. You can see if the table gets smacked, some of it moves around and stuff like that. But I don't like to glue it down in case I ever want to change it in the future. You never know. 6 months from now I could be redoing this, and rather than ripping all the grass apart, I can save the grass and reuse it. But we'll see. Time will tell in the future. Another popular question is how I power the layouts. Again, I went into this in more detail in previous videos. I did a 2-part video a little while ago. This layout is powered entirely right now, currently, off of 2 postwar ZW transformers, whereas this layout is powered completely by bricks. Excuse the mess. Another common question with the ZW transformers, how do you run your modern trains without burning them up or anything like that? And again, personally, I've never had an issue. I've run all of my modern equipment off of these ZWs with no issues. I haven't burned an engine up. I haven't installed any modern breakers or diodes or anything. They work fantastic. I've had my share of derailments and stuff, as I've mentioned in the past. But like I say, I've yet to burn or hurt an engine that I've noticed. I'll post a link to those 2 videos if you would like to view them as well. One of the other questions that was asked that goes hand in hand with these ZWs is someone stated that they use ZWs for power, and they asked if they could run the modern Lion Chief engines with the universal remote off of the ZWs for power without burning up the circuitry. And the answer for me is yes. Again, these are original. I haven't added anything to them, and all the modern stuff is running. One thing I do for the Lionel engines, when these ZWs are wide open, I want to say they're putting 22 to 24 volts to the track, where Lionel specifies using 18 volts. So I'll back the handles down a little bit so they're not wide open throttle or full throttle at 24 volts. But aside from that, like I say, I haven't had any issues. None of the engines have burned up. I've run the line. There's a Lion Chief engine on it right now, as a matter of fact, and it runs with no issue. Some people will warn you not to do it, and that's perfectly fine. As I've always said, do what's comfortable for you and what works for you. If you're not comfortable running them on these without the added protection, then obviously do not do so. The next question that I see often is what kind of switches or turnouts do I use, as well as the control panels for them. On the post-war or traditional styled layout, the second layout, I use these original Lionel O22 switches. These things are bulletproof and work great. I did have to go through and service all of them. Most of them I needed to resolder some contact points on and stuff like that. But once they were resoldered and fixed, like I say, they've been working now for at least a year. They work great. The control, I got the controls just set up here on the table, screwed in to hold them in place. But the control panels underneath the switches are for powering the sidings. All of the sidings are insulated away from the main track work. I did this so I could kill power to these sidings for the engines that are just sitting here. They're not sitting here soaking up power or just sitting here on. For instance, turn that one on. You can see the Santa Fe's lit up. Turn this one on. The Challenger in the middle is lit up. And then the last one obviously would power up the Yellowstone engine. Pretty easy to do. I use the old Lionel insulating track pins. They're little plastic pins to insulate the track away from the main track work. And then I just run power wires feeding off through the switch, or switches, to the main track work for power. The one downside with the old O22 switches, obviously these are all O31 based curves. So obviously the bigger engines and equipment are not going to be able to handle the tight radius curves on these older switches. So as good as this looks, only the smaller engines can really negotiate them. Some of the bigger engines will negotiate them, however their fuel tanks and whatnot will rub on the switch body and the engine will get caught up. Just one of the downsides, something to think about. On the main layout, or more of the high rail styled layout, I'm using the Mth Real Tracks switches. And these are set up in the exact same manner. The sidings are insulated from the main track work. I used electrical tape on the contacts of the track as well as the rails to isolate the siding tracks from the main track work. But these operate the exact same way. You can see the New Haven just popped on. And the switches work good. I haven't had any issues out of them. I did isolate these two sidings in two places. I had to isolate them up here by the switch where they first begin to cut the power, as well as back over here by these bumpers. I like seeing these bumpers on whenever the layout is live and powered up. Some people that isolate their sidings like to leave them with straight power whenever the track is powered up. So when you turn a switch to turn the track on, the bumper will light up to show you what track is powered up. Whereas, like I say, I prefer to see them on whenever the layout is up and running or live. So with these, I did the same thing. I isolated the rails and the contacts on the track, and then on the underside of these bumpers, I soldered some wires for them to get powered. Power in the ground, and then I ran them under the table to the main track work so that whenever the track's live, the bumpers are live. Like I say, that's the way I like it, and that's the way I prefer. It adds a little bit more looks to the layout, I think. But again, whatever works for you. Like I say, some people would rather have them wired up so that whenever you throw the switch, that bumper is on, which makes perfectly good sense. While on the topic of the Mth Real Tracks, somebody asked if I ever had any issues with any of the Mth Real Tracks. I've heard a lot of people having horror stories with this stuff, but I can say I've never had that much issue. I think out of all the track that I've had through the years, I've only had one bad section of track, a 10-inch straight. I don't have a spare piece handy to use for demonstration, but the big deal with this stuff is the little fingers contacts underneath the track itself or the rails. It's very prone, they're very weak, they'll get bent. But when you're laying your track, as long as you're making sure that those fingers are bent correctly and in the proper orientation, I've never had an issue. Yeah, it's a little tedious when you're first putting the track together, going through each piece, making sure all 3 fingers on each side, so for a total of 6 fingers on each piece of track, is correct. But again, as long as you're doing that, that pretty much ensures you're not going to have any issues. And like I say, with all the Mth Real Tracks I've used throughout the years, I've never had an issue with any of it except for one piece. And I don't know what was wrong with that one piece. The fingers looked fine, everything was making contact, but that was the only piece of track that, for some reason, it didn't want to work. But I've had good luck with it. Same thing with the switches. These are the only 2 Real Tracks switches that I have. They're both 042 left-hand switches. And they've never given me any issues. They always work great. Still on the subject of track, I've had a lot of people reach out asking what type of track planning software I use or if I used any. And I gotta say, I'm completely flattered that you guys think it looks that great. Don't get me wrong, I love the way it looks too, and I enjoy the hell out of it. However, at the same time, I think it's somewhat plain in my eyes when compared to other layouts and whatnot. But the answer to this is no, I do not use any track planning software. I enjoy the thrill of piecing it all together and trying to make it all work and fit together. That's what makes it fun for me. I could see using it if I had a very big layout that would take some headache out of it. But for these smaller layouts that I have, I don't use any track planning software. Usually what I do is I'll set up the outer main line first to get a feel for it, because I want that running as close to the edge of the table as possible. That way I can ensure to get as much room for the inner tracks that are going to be installed. So for instance, on this table, this outer 072 loop was placed first, like I say, pretty much around the perimeter of the table. And then we went with an 054 next. This one was pretty simple. I just followed the same pattern around the entire table and just worked my way in. But like I say, that's the fun of it for me. Some people really enjoy and get into the track planning software and spend hours, developing and what would look good, this, that, and the other. I just prefer doing it, the old-fashioned way. Get your brain working, I guess. Get your imagination working a little bit. But I do appreciate the kind words, guys. I'm glad you guys enjoy and like the way that this looks. That means a lot. I did have somebody ask if the Lionel Fast Track can be repaired and or fixed. And I honestly cannot answer that. The only piece of Fast Track I've ever had my hands on is this Fast Track road crossing switch right here by or behind the city. That's the only piece I've ever had my hands on. I had to modify that one quite a bit to enable it to work with the Mth Real Tracks. It's actually 3 track systems in one, if you can believe it. I had to cut the ends of the fast track insulated track pieces that go on each side of the switch. The fast track ends, I had to cut them off, and once you do, it exposes the hollow rail of the track itself, which is kind of like this old tin plate track. Once that was done, I was able to use the old Lionel track pins and shove them into the fast track insulated rails, or rail sections, and then I used an Mth Real Tracks to tin plate or tubular track adapter piece for it to all plug together. And it seems to be working. I haven't had any issues out of it, and the signal still works the way that it should. The next question that somebody asked is, what do I think is the most challenging aspect of the O-gauge hobby? Personally, I would have to say, to me, space. Space always comes at a premium, and this stuff takes up a lot of space, as you can see. Obviously, it'll only get as big and grow as much as you want to let it. But still, if you want to get a pretty big setup, it takes up a lot of space. As you can tell, this room is full of trains and train layout. While on the topic of space, I had a couple people ask and mention if the newer modern engines that I have been giving, if I thought they were too big for my layouts. And while yes, some people might view them as too big for the layouts with the space that I have, however, that's the challenge that I have to live with. You know, we all gotta have a sacrifice somewhere. Whether it be money, space, whatever have you. But that's a sacrifice I'm willing to accept. It took 20 years to get a loop of 072 track, and we finally have one. And I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, I'm going to have some overhang on some of the bigger engines and stuff like that. But again, I'll take it. I'd rather have that and be able to run them than not have it and not be able to run them. The next question somebody asks is, will I ever do a review on Menard's buildings in the future? And the answer, of course, would be yes. Absolutely, we can do that. I would love to do that. And I appreciate the thought to do that. As I've always say in these videos, I'm always looking for suggestions on what you guys would like to see next. And I appreciate the input. I'll make sure to work that into an upcoming video here in the future. The next question is a pretty common one too. And that's, what's in the shot glass? It goes back and forth, normally a whiskey or a rum. Admittedly, I'm not really a big shot drinker. I'm mainly a mixed drink type of guy. I like my Jack and Coke. I'm also a big sucker for some vanilla Crown and Coke too. Can't go wrong there. I did pick up a bottle last night of Jim Beam Devil's Cut. Oh boy, you want a party. But yeah, that said, you know, I'll do the mixed drinks more than the shots. If I were to be down in mixed drinks like I do the shots on these videos, I don't know if I would make it through the video. But for today's video, we did some Jack. The next question is, how do I buy trains at a discount at train shows, and that the person had never been to a train show before? It's kind of an art. I mean, you're not going to go to a train show looking to rob anybody. You want to be respectful, and of course, have somewhat of an idea of what the item you're looking to purchase is worth. If they're asking fair market price, then I will not haggle with them. But usually I'll try and knock $50 off or whatnot. You got to think of it as kind of a garage sale, or even going to the car dealership. They're looking to get a specific dollar amount. However, 9 times out of 10, they'll put a little bit higher dollar amount on the tag of the item in hopes to get a little bit more. But usually, you know, if you go up and offer a few bucks less, they'll take it because they were really expecting to get a little bit under what it was priced, if that makes any kind of sense. But again, have somewhat of an idea. You don't want to go piss someone off and lowball them, because then you're not going to get the item at all. Just be respectful. The next question is, what is my least favorite part of the O-gauge hobby? That's kind of a tough one. What's not to like? Honestly, I would have to say what I mentioned before. The negativity lately in the hobby. That's kind of a real downer. There's no reason to put someone else down for how they're enjoying the hobby if it's something different than the way that you enjoy the hobby. Just because someone enjoys it in a different way does not make them wrong and doesn't make them right or you wrong or right. Just enjoy the hobby however you want. There's no reason to put someone else down for the way that they enjoy it. Someone asked if I ever plan on buying and reviewing any pre-war O-gauge engines or rolling stock. I've learned to never say never. I'm not opposed or against pre-war O-gauge items. I guess I just don't relate to them as much. I seem to enjoy the post-war and the modern engines quite a bit more. But again, I would never turn one away. I can't say I'm looking to purchase one at the moment. It's not on the priority list. As I was kind of saying earlier, and if you've been following along on the channel, we just revamped this layout with quite a bit wider curves to be able to run some of the modern, bigger scaled end or scale-sized engines. And that's been my main passion currently. Finally being able to run some of the bigger engines and equipment, I've really been enjoying that, and that's been my main focus at the moment. The next one's a pretty good one. The question is, how long have I been into O-gauge trains, and is there anyone in particular that keeps my interest going? My grandmother is the person to blame for this damn obsession. She's the one that got me into O-gauge trains. I'm originally from Michigan, and when I was a kid on one of my summer breaks, back when Lionel had the visitor center in Michigan, she took me there to the visitor center, and we got to see the layout there. That's when the bug bit. That was 20 years ago. Unfortunately, Grandma passed away in 2005, but the love for trains has stuck ever since. Through the years, as I mentioned in other videos, I kind of got out of the trains. I didn't enjoy them as much. Life got in the way, so on and so forth. But here the last 3-4 years, I've been getting heavy back into it, as you can see. The trains are kind of a personal thing, personal enjoyment. I don't really have any friends or family that get into it. Yeah, my family, they think it's neat, but it's not really their thing. And the same thing with the missus. She humors me. But yeah, nobody that's really into it. My buddy Tony and my dealer, I'll BS with him once in a while. We keep in contact, and that's really my only personal train friend or contact that I have. If I had to answer that, I'd have to say it's you guys that keep me interested in all the great channels out here on YouTube. I love what everybody else is doing with their layouts, and I love seeing all the updates and whatnot and videos on here. The next question is, how many steam engines do I have in the collection? I have a total of 12. 7 post-war engines and 5 modern. One of the modern engines is currently at the train shop awaiting a Proto-Sound 3 upgrade. It's an original Proto-Sound 1 engine. The next question is, would I be open to having local visitors come by and bringing their engines and rolling stock to run on the layout? I'm flattered and I appreciate the thought, and again, I'll never say never. However, in that same token, I'm not exactly thrilled with having strangers here in my house, if you know what I mean. But again, if you were to send me an email and get in touch with me, that would probably be the best route to go. We'll get to talking, and I'll see if that's something that I would be comfortable with. But to be honest, no, I'm not exactly thrilled with the thought of people just coming to my house. Again, this is my home. Not to say I am a little bit personal, but I don't know, it's just a little uncomfortable, if you know what I mean. But if you'd like to send me an email, you can find my email in the About page on the channel here. Feel free to drop me a line. The next one is, would I be willing to do a collaboration and a future Q&A with another channel? And again, the answer is yes. As I was mentioning with the live streaming, once I get all the equipment I feel is necessary to be able to do that, I would be more than willing to give that a shot. I think that could be fun. As I say, my only hindrance at the moment, I don't feel I'm set up to be doing proper live streaming and whatnot. But once we're able to do that, then yes, I'd be open to doing that. I had someone ask what the status of MTH was, that there was no catalog out, and some of the engines that were released had not been delivered yet. Guys, I'm just like you. I'm just a hobbyist. Unfortunately, I do not work for MTH. I could, tell you some of the rumors that I've heard, but again, that's exactly what they would be, rumors. And I don't want to be a part of the rumor mill, if you know what I mean. But I don't think anyone really knows. The only people that'll know will be MTH. We'll find out what's going to happen with them in the future. And as far as I know, they still plan on getting all the engines that have been pre-ordered out and delivered. I don't see that being an issue. I received my engine that I ordered from the last catalog, and I really have high hopes of getting these last two engines that I just ordered that'll be coming in later this year. These next couple come from the same subscriber. The questions are, what is my favorite post-war and modern engines in my fleet? And what's a post-war and modern engine I would have to buy even if the price wasn't the best price? I always get a little leery saying, what's my favorite engine? It's like asking a parent which kid's their favorite. But I figured, what the hell, we'll give it a go. My favorite post-war engine is somewhat easy. It'll always be the Santa Fe F3s. They're my absolute favorite. I love them. As for my favorite modern engine, there's really two that are on the top. But the one modern engine that has not left the tracks lately since it's came home is this big New Haven Alco PA. I've really been enjoying this engine. The way it sounds, the way it looks, it's a monster. Ever since it's come to the layout, it hasn't been taken off the tracks. And I think that's one of the reasons I enjoy it. As big as it is, it's able to even handle the sharper curves down all the way to 031. I don't run it on 031, obviously, but I've run it on the 042, and it has no issues doing so. But I'd have to say right now that's one of my tops. I really like that one. As far as future purchases, I'd love to get my hands one day on a post-war 1950 773. That'll get added to the collection one day. Modern engine-wise, there's two that I'd really like to get, and they're both Norfolk and Western engines. I'd love to get a Norfolk and Western J. I've had my eyes on one of them for a while, as well as a Norfolk and Western Y6B. I think those are very impressive. Again, those are engines I do see coming to the layout sometime in the future. Might not happen this year, but I would love to get my hands on a set of each of those. Our last two questions come from the same subscriber. The first question is it advisable to keep the original boxes for the engines and rolling stock? And I would have to say yes it is. I even go so far as to keep the original boxes, or if you even want to call them boxes, the plastic pieces for the Menard's buildings. For a couple of reasons. You never know. 10, 20, 30 years from now, you might not be in the O-gauge trains anymore. Or possibly, maybe that one engine you purchased, you're not going to really like it in a couple years, and you may want to sell it. That engine with its original box is going to bring a much higher resale value having its original box than it were if it didn't have its box. And their second and our last question is, do I have a top 10 list for tips to have a successful O-gauge layout? This one's kind of subjective. Everything's going to be different for every single person. Everybody, has their own specific wants and needs and so forth. But I'll give it a shot. The first tip would be a clean and proper sized area for a layout, or a designated area for the layout. As I mentioned earlier, you can see these layouts take up some space. Whatever size you think you're going to need for curves and whatnot, double it. If you think right now you'll get away with only 031 or 042 curves, I'd have to say you're wrong. Sure, you'll enjoy it and you could have fun with it. And if you're running only post-war equipment, then yes, you can definitely get away with that. But if you're looking to get new stuff in the future and stuff like that, I definitely plan on having the widest curve that you can support. Figure out what era or what style of train you want to run. And by that I mean, do you want to run just post-war? Do you want to run just modern trains? Or do you want to be like me and run both? Set up your power to support whatever you're looking to run, or run both on the same track if that's what you're wanting or needing. Stay within your budget. Don't go overspending. Don't put yourself in debt over some O-gauge trains. The most important one, run what you enjoy. Don't keep up with the Joneses. Whatever makes you happy, that's what you run. Don't worry about impressing somebody else. Don't be afraid to buy second market items. Don't be stuck to buying just brand new stuff. Learn how to service your own engines and equipment. Makes life a lot easier, less downtime, stuff like that. Just take the time to learn. A good one I'd say would be to find a local hobby shop or repair center if able to, and go shop there. It makes life a lot easier and much nicer. If something of yours was to break, you can take it to that local shop for repair versus shipping it out somewhere to get serviced and you're waiting for months to get your engine back. One of the big ones, don't put it off. If you're looking to build the layout, don't put it off and don't overthink it. Just get started. The more you think about it or, wonder if you should do it or you shouldn't do it, more than likely you're not going to do it. And then the last one, another big important one, do it for you. If this is what you want to do, absolutely do it. Don't do it to please someone else. Just do it for you. Some of these might seem a little repetitive, or they all kind of mingle together. But I'd have to say those are probably the most important tips I could give you. Whew, that was a long one. We started filming midday, and now it's dark out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully I answered everybody's questions. I'm sorry if I missed yours. I had quite a few to go through. If I did miss yours and you still have some, make sure to drop me a line. Leave me a comment below or shoot me an email. I do try to get back with everybody. Once again, guys, I can't thank you guys enough. A big salute to all of you, and a salute to the continuing growth of the channel. Until next time, guys, my name is Zach, and this is Country Bunkers Trains. Y'all take care. I'll see you the next go-around.